Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tom Conway, I'm the President and CEO of iMinerals, and we're going to kind of go through our sort of presentation today on what's going on with iMinerals. And so these are really minerals for economic growth, and our feasibility study has shown that there's really robust valuation in this. So we're looking at producing basically four different kind of unique industrial minerals, in that we have a K-spar, a high purity quartz product, a kaolin clay, and then a halloysite clay. The initial capex is about $108 million, and we're looking at an NPV after tax of $250 million at 6% and about a 25.8% IRR. Just talk about the minerals a little bit. We won't go through a lot of detail of those, but K-spar, this is North American class, and it's really used for glazes and ceramics and things like that. The quartz, this is also North American class. This is a high-end glass that's used in high-end type applications like computer screens and LED lighting and things of that nature. The kaolin clay, also North American class, and that it can be converted to what's called metakaolin, which is a pozzolan for cement, and imparts some unique characteristics into the cement. And then we have halloysite, which is actually world class. There's only about 7 or 8 known currents of this in the world. This one's world unique in that there's no deleterious elements to it, so it has a lot of applications for high-end pharmaceuticals and cosmetics. The mine is real easy to build. It's about a year and a half of engineering and build time. Everything is off the shelf. Basic state permitting is required. That this is a non-metals mine. It's adjudicated by EPA. There's no EIS involved. It's just state level permitting. We have experienced management led by myself. We also have a really good team that's got a lot of industrial minerals experience. And then we have a large inside ownership. There's a gentleman by the name of Alan Ball, who's our chairman of the board, and he owns about 38 or so % of the company. The project is located just out of Moscow, Idaho, about 30 miles away. It's historic. There's been historic mining there and logging things, so it is brownfield. So there is infrastructure also available. There's power and gas, a good highway system, open station for the rail is about 50 miles away. And then there's tidewater access to Portland via the Columbia River. Highly supportive community. That there's a real dearth of good jobs in this area, and so we're going to be bringing in about 80 or so high-paying jobs into the area, and so it's highly supported by them. And it's to secure land tenure. We're in the process of actually acquiring the surface rights from the state of Idaho. There is a 5% gross royalty that's paid to the education fund of the state. But the state's interests are aligned with iMinerals, that they want the jobs, and they want the royalty to be paid, and they really want this to be developed. Our next slide, we show some of the products, and there's some useful stuff there. There's a woman receiving a mud mask, and there's a bridge deck being plowed in the wintertime. And I always ask people, what do you think those two have in common? Well, it's kaolin clay. And so that the use of this range anywhere from cement hardening and a pozzolan for cement all the way up to beauty and pharmaceutical type applications. So these minerals are not just simply used in one industry; they're used in multiple industries. That obviously don't have the same economic ups and downs, so to speak. I mean, certain things like cosmetics and stuff seem to hold up quite well no matter what the economy is. And then, for bridge decks and things, the departments of transportation, particularly in the West, are always looking for various ways to cut maintenance costs and things. Some of the other stuff goes into solar glass, and that's what we have for glazes and things. So just kind of go through the minerals really quickly. We have 4 unique ones. Let's say the halloysite. There is a well-developed market for that. There's Emery's out of New Zealand, puts a lot of it into the ceramics industry. We don't propose on doing that because ours is chemically pure. We propose to go into the more high-end type applications. Kaolin clay, when it's calcined to 850 degrees, it becomes the pozzolan for cement. Oh, then there's the potassium feldspar, which you get to use as ceramic glazes and things. And then, of course, we have quartz, and then the quartz is used for a variety of specialty lighting and LED screens, LCD type things, fiber optics, things of that nature. The next slide kind of shows a matrix here. This is one of the most important things about the various mineral sizes. Mineral market sizes, valuations, and expectations. And so we really don't have to go in and capture large market share. In fact, there is actually a dearth of some of these minerals in the marketplace, particularly K-spar, and that Emery's, after 57 years, shut down their operation in Georgia, leaving a huge hole. And then Pacer Corporation out of South Dakota also has had trouble with their mill and is rationing people. So we think we can easily fit into that and capture that space. Quartz, there's more than 1 million tons per annum of demand in our area. We're going to be producing about 100,000 tons. And again, our stuff is quite high quality, so we feel that we'll be able to get it easily. The kaolin clay, there is no metakaolin production in the Northwest. All that stuff has to come out of Georgia, and so it's very high, transportation cost to get it there. And so again, we feel we're going to be able to capture that market. Indeed, have been working with premix out of Lewiston and stuff where they've tested the product and quite like it. And then the halloysite being world class. Most of the stuff is used actually in the Far East for ceramics, but it has lots of pharmaceutical, and most of that will be out of Germany. You start looking at some of the prices and things, and that something like quartz can go for as little as $25 a ton up to $10,000 a ton, depending on the application. But we're looking at the products in the range of about $150 to $600. The case bar right now is selling anywhere from about $250 to $350 a ton. We're using $250 in our feasibility. The kaolin clay for the metakaolin is going for about $250 a ton down the southeast of the U.S., and so we feel we can easily, get that price. And then the halloysite goes anywhere from about $300 to $5,000–6,000 per ton, depending on the application. But we're looking at about $1,000 a ton in our feasibility. So the next thing just kind of shows the ease of mining and stuff, and then you can see there's a picture of some trees in the background, some piles of white sand. All this material is just it's kind of a white clay sand that's right on the surface. I mean, there is no traditional stripping. There's no pit per se. You're simply taking it on tropographic highs, and so the material is very easy just to kind of scoop up and put in things. Your next slide kind of shows the same thing. An excavator just kind of digging away at the stuff. The separation is again very easy. You just simply wash the material. The clay comes off, and then that clay goes for cycloning and for centrifuging to make the halloysite products. And then the stuff that's screened, the quartz in the case bar, goes through a differential float. The case bar comes off the floats, the quartz sinks, and then you go through several upgrade steps here to get the different products of the quartz. This is quite unlike conventional mining in that 70% of what you mine turns into product. And so you don't have the huge tailings things. We're putting a dry stack tailings facility in order to recycle the maximum amount of water. In addition to that, even the tailings are off-spec product, and they do have uses in filler for, say, cement and tile and things like that. So ultimately, even all the tailings and things will be reclaimed. Then we just show a couple of slides. We have kind of an isometric layout of the plant, and then we also show where the project location is. But from it, you can see the state highway and things. So it's actually really close to established infrastructure. Some of the economic evaluations, we used a really good team. We used GBM engineers out of London, HDR for the environmental, Tetra Tech, Mine Development Associates, SRK. We used all brand names to look at this. Of course, that gives you a lot of credibility that the studies were done really correctly. So the capital is about $108 million. Life of mine capital is about $125. So there's not a lot of sustaining capital in this, and that's spread out over the 25 years, and that's mainly just to expand the tailings facility. Operating costs are in the range of about $92 a ton. Plus, we put in G&A in that because this is the only operation that we have, and so we thought that should be in to really give an indicative cost of that. But you're selling this stuff for about $250 a ton, so you have a very high profit margin on this. EBITDA is about $45 million. The NPV is at 6% before tax, 385, with a 31.6% IRR and about a three-year payback. So you can see again, this is quite unlike other mining companies, particularly some of these large gold and base metal ones, where you're getting a few $100 million of NPV for billions of dollars of capex. This is quite reverse. This is very capital efficient, and these are essentially it's like an annuity. We've identified 26 years of ore reserves, but in fact, there's about 100 years of material that we've identified. In addition to that, on the property, there are several other deposits that are known that will probably mine sometime in the distant future. There are some hard rock, soda spar, and quartz operations, and then there are other areas we have not even yet touched for clay, for the halloysite, which we know contain it. We've got maybe one hole or stuff in, so the chance of moving this out to 100, 150 years is really great. So these are very, very long-lived type properties. So we have a table that kind of shows the EBITDA sensitivities, and even when you drive the prices down to the lowest possible level, and that you're simply putting out quartz in the float glass market and stuff, this thing still has a positive rate of return. You probably wouldn't invest in it. That's only about a $10 million EBITDA, but nonetheless, we can't foresee a situation here where we're not going to be able to make money in this. And then if you start looking at some of the more optimistic cases, which we believe will come true several years after production is up, particularly for the Hawaii site, which is the blue sky material for this. The EBITDA starts going up into the 60s. And so you start talking about rates of return here that are 50–60%. So this is a really, really robust project, quite unlike anything you've probably seen out in the world. One of the biggest keys to this is marketing, and that you have to go out and find the various companies that can use your material. And again, when they test the stuff, they'll test a few grams and things to look at the chemistry is good. Then they'll say, hey, send me 10 kilograms and 100, then finally 10 carloads. Because these are minerals and there's various chemistries associated with the minerals, they have to factor that into their manufacturing process to make sure that their product comes out good and that their customers are satisfied. But most of the people here have tested all these materials and really like it. In addition to just simply producing the minerals, you can put different grinds into these things, particularly the quartz and the case bar, and as you grind them finer, again, they're worth a lot more money into the different markets. And so we have grinding capability into the mill to allow us to, to capture that. So things like case bar stuff can be put into paint and things when it's, finally ground. In fact, some of the brand names of the paint actually have a spar in it. And so again, what's unique about this project is if you look at the preliminary economic assessment all the way through pre-fees, all the way to feasibility, the project's gotten better and better with each iteration. And so even though the feasibility's out, we have additional marketing information that's come to light since then that shows that certain of these products contain a great deal more value. And so it's one of those things, as you develop your marketing, these minerals take on kind of a life of their own and become increasingly more valuable. So we have potential impacts of kind of product mix implications here and stuff. And so there is an optimization to put together on this, and that's something that we will be working on as we've identified the customers and really know what they want. The management team, say it's led by myself. I have extensive background in gold, and I've worked pretty much on every continent but Antarctica, and I've run Yanacocha and Carlin. But then we have Lamar Long, Gary Nelson, and Linda Kemp, who handle the project, metallurgy, and market development. They've all have long-term experience in the industrial metal space working for KT Clay. And in fact, Lamar has probably been in the industry about 40-some years now and has very, very extensive experience. So we have a really good team that knows what they're doing. Our directors, Alan Ball, who's our largest shareholder, is the chairman of the board. There's a gentleman by the name of Gary Childress, who's a ceramic engineer, works for Horton Ceramic, and again worked for KT Clay and has considerable experience in the space. Then we have Barry Gerling and Wayne Morehouse, both from Vancouver, have considerable experience in the junior space and then also in financing. If you look at our capital structure right now, there's about 86 or so million shares outstanding. As of last Friday, we were at about 31 cents Canadian, I think about 26 cents US. Fully diluted will be about 97 million shares. Insiders own about close to 42% of that. There are a few warrants and things outstanding and some options and stuff, but not a huge number of that. So kind of in summary on the things, it's an extremely robust feasibility study. And so where we're going from here, we have applied to the state of Idaho and for our permits, which we should have by the end of summer. I did receive all the initial comments back on the permits on Friday. They're just technical in nature, nothing really outstanding, so we'll get that taken care of shortly. High NPV and IRR, very strong annual operating income, very, very long mine life. We got 25 years defined, but we know it's in excess of 50 years or so. There is potential for acquisition things. There is a very diversified product mix here, and it really goes into everything is consumed locally in the United States, except for the waste that will go to Germany. We're really not dependent on China or any kind of the Asian markets. And so as long as the housing and economic recovery continues in the U.S., these products are going to be used. So if you have any further questions or like additional information, you can contact myself or Barry Gerling, or you can look at our website, which is imineralsinc.com. We are listed on the TSXV and also the OTCQB, and our call sign is IMA and then IMAHF. Thank you very much.